What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to another video, and today we have ourselves the BOBOVR M2 Pro, so without further ado, let's get right into it. So, we'll talk about the pros, we'll talk about the cons, the actual battery capacity, and yes, I've done some testing, and we'll compare it to the Elite Strap battery, anything to watch out for, and how to fix it, just as always. But first, a quick look at the original M2. So this thing came out back in 2021, it instantly replaced the Halo strap, and it's just a much better design. However, it still had some problems. First off, the padding that came with it was kind of cheap, and was kind of ripping apart, but that was replaced, and now it's a much better, comfier padding. Some people had problems while their back was actually slipping upwards, and I've already came up with a couple fixes in my tweaks and mods video, which you can watch right over here. But the biggest problem for the people that had problems were these two top pads. The top two pads were kind of digging into people's heads, and it's basically a replacement for the center strap. Now, the original M2 did come with a strap included in the box, just in case if you want it, which is thankfully there. However, it is no longer needed or necessary in the M2 Pro. Unless, of course, you really need it. But we'll talk more about that in just a bit. So these things were kind of digging into people's heads, and the padding was insufficient, and they were kind of too tight. In my tweaking video, I just basically bent these out and loosened up the tension that was being applied to the top of my head, and then I went and added a power bank, and it was a pretty nice experience. But of course, like every other strap out there and every other headset that was ever released, there are always about three groups of people. People who find it to be perfect right out of the box, people who absolutely dislike it and want something to work out of the box perfectly, and then you got people like me which find it to be alright but see potential in mods and try to improve the headset or the strap or whatever it is and make it work for us. So we did that with the M2. Let's go ahead and talk about the M2 Pro and talk about what possible issues you may encounter and how to potentially fix them. So what has changed? So when it comes to padding, the forehead pad is about the same. I'm not sure if the actual tension has changed, but one thing for sure is that the padding here has been much improved. It's much thicker and is actually much bigger than the original mold that it came with. It's probably using the same mold as the original M2. Of course, it's going to save cost, but they just enlarged the padding and kind of fixed that problem, and it's no longer digging into your head. As for the rear pad, it has been much improved, but it also comes with its own issues. As you can see here, it's a nice material. This thing can totally hold up to a lot of ripping, and it is much stronger. It's much comfier, much cushier, but of course, like always, there's always going to be another issue that pops up when you're speaking about comfort. So the problem with the rear pad is that now it actually slips up even easier than before. There is nothing that is going to grip on your head, especially if you have hair, which, you know, a lot of people have hair, and basically it's going to slip even though you have some counterweights with the battery here. So the fix that I've come up with, and it's pretty great, very cheap, very easy to do, especially if you have watched my last video, you probably know what I'm going to be showing you here, and that would be this little $5 pad. This thing is pretty fantastic. You can literally use it on any strap almost. Halo strap, Elite strap, M2 strap, this thing is pretty fantastic in my opinion. You can make so much use out of it, even if you actually don't even have any custom plastic head straps for your Quest 2. So it's totally worth picking up no matter what you have. So how to use it? Well, you just tie it into each side, and you're pretty much good to go. Yes, it may look awkward, but trust me when I tell you that this thing is pretty comfy. Now, there are actually about 3 different ways and combinations you can use this pad. One of them, of course, is to use it as is. The other one is to go ahead and remove the included padding on the bottom. And what that would do is give you way more grip over your head, since you have a whole lot more contacts that's gonna hug your head from the back. And overall, just provide you with a much sturdier experience over the back of your head. And the final way to actually use this is to go ahead and grab yourself a center strap. And you may actually have one of these if you have the original M2 or one of the cheap Halo straps. And since the strap here is not officially supported by the M2 Pro, here's one way you can actually go about it. First of all, feed it through here, feed it through this pad, pull it down, and have it attached to the back of the M2's original Velcro padding. Now you'll have this little dangle here, you can go ahead and just tuck it back in. But essentially, this pad is now secured to the grippy Velcro part where the original padding used to be. And you can even go ahead and cut that down if you want to clean up a bit, and you got yourself a really comfortable headset that not only has grip, but also has a quick swappable battery, and all you're missing now is a pair of headphones or an earbud, and that's really about it. Now, one thing you'll probably notice is that there's actually a little tiny strap right here attached to the M2 Pro. And what it does is it kind of alleviates some of the nose pressure, as well as the tilting motion that sometimes can happen when you're wearing the headset where it actually tilts forward. And yes, if you don't like it, you can go ahead and remove it completely by pulling the forehead pad and taking it out. And finally, let's go ahead and talk about the flagship feature, and that would be the B2 battery. This is called the B2, and the strap here is called the M2 Pro, and we have the D2, which is a dock that charges the headset, as well as an extra B2 battery. And I'll have a video about this published in half an hour right after this one. So what we have here is a 5200 milliamp hour battery. The entire package here comes at $60 US, with any additional batteries costing you about $30 US. which makes this combo that includes 2 batteries at 10,000 mAh much cheaper than the official battery elite strap from Oculus, which tends to have a lot of braking issues. And I've looked around and it seems like that issue is still existing, even though they said they did fix it. But anyways, back to the B2. So 5200 mAh, it's got a little button right here with a light indicator in the middle when you're charging it. It's got 4 battery percentages for 25, 50, 75, and 100%. On the top, we got a Type-C port. We can go ahead and charge the unit or actually output power to whatever device you may have, such as the F2, which is the ventilating fan that we have reviewed in the last video, that attaches to its own face pad and basically provides you with some ventilation around your lenses to stop it from fogging up, and it works pretty well. The battery is pretty good, but if you want to power it with this thing, then you can go ahead and do that, so that's pretty cool. Finally, on the bottom, we have the magnetic system, and this is the satisfying part. You just drop it on, it gives you a little beep, and it starts charging the headset. The magnets here are pretty strong. They're not going to come off while you're playing, and even then, unless you're putting a lot of force, this thing is not coming off. So you're playing, battery's out, drop the new one in, leave the other one to charge, and you'll constantly have a supply of power going through your headset with a quick and easy drop-in solution. And if you want, you can go ahead and pair it up with the D2 dock, which works pretty nicely, but there are some things you should know about, so stick around for that video, which will be up right after this one. So as I have mentioned before, I have done some battery testing, and the results are actually pretty good compared to the official Elite strap. And to actually get this to work, I went ahead and modified one of these things with a female USB Type-C port just to make it work with the setup. And the results are as follows. The B2 at 3,404 mAh, while the official Elite battery strap is at 3,091 mAh. So roughly around 300 mAh more on the B2 compared to the Elite strap, which is a pretty good amount. And considering that you can get 2 of these for less than 1 Elite strap, then that's a pretty good deal if you ask me. And when I talked to them about the battery capacity, they have actually told me that the current model that I have in my hands are actually outdated, and whatever batch they're selling right now actually has an improved efficiency, so we'll see about that. Maybe the driver board has changed, and that's what it looks like on the inside, so pretty cool. And with that being said, that is all for this video. So they've been pumping out all these different accessories. They're not stopping. I've been told they're working on a whole lot of stuff, including a universal battery system to work on other straps, which is a pretty bold move. And it's pretty exciting. And with that being said, that is all for this video. So should you get the M2 Pro? Well, if you're willing to actually get it, try it out. And if you don't find it to be comfortable, you can get yourself one of these pads and you should have a pretty good experience. And if you're someone who already has the M2 Pro, go ahead and get this thing and let me know in the comment section below what you think about it and if it actually fixes the problem that you're encountering. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.